I think that the real problem is something that is probably best described as the global energy challenge. And to exclusively focus on climate change, I think misses the broader picture that governs behavior and determines human well-being. And in particular, the global energy challenge doesn't require just addressing climate change by itself. It requires confronting three goals that unfortunately are in conflict with each other at times and require trade-offs. And so the first goal is all societies around the world are extraordinarily focused, with very good reason, on finding inexpensive and reliable sources of energy. And when you think about that, why is, energy doesn't really enter the utility function, we might say, in economics directly. It's an input into producing the things we care about. And so every dollar that we spend on embedded energy is something that you can't spend on things you might like nicer vacations or big TVs or feeding yourself or providing health care for your children. And so that need or desire to reduce the amount of money spent on energy often leads societies to try and find the least expensive form of energy. And this is where the rub is going to come, is that is quite frequently in fossil fuels. And let me now talk about how that bleeds into what I think are the second and third goals of this global energy challenge, is how do you minimize the damages from air pollution? This was Orley's great insight that when he noticed there was air pollution in Los Angeles. And what I think it has not received enough attention, or does not today receive, because somehow climate change is clouding it out a little bit, is that air pollution is currently, and I'll demonstrate this as we go along, the single greatest external threat to human health on the planet. So the largest loss of life expectancy is associated larger from air pollution than from tobacco, alcohol, drugs, anything else. And it's true there's been tremendous progress in the US, Japan, and EU over the last several decades, and more recently in China. But there's many parts of the world where the average person is still losing about 5 years of life expectancy. So you just think about that. That's like, imagine if Martians came down and were taking off 5 years of life expectancy. There would be like total outrage about that. And so the second goal is how do we minimize the damages from air pollution, which are a byproduct of fossil fuels. And just the punchline, producing energy without causing air pollution is generally more expensive. That right away that creates conflict. And then the third goal is how do we minimize the damages from climate change? There's a couple points that really make this especially cruel or nasty problem. The first is that the climate damages are projected to be highly heterogeneous, with the largest damages, unfortunately, in the locations around the planet today that are either poor or hot or especially both. And those are also the very places where willingness to pay for reducing or paying more for clean energy is lower, and that's because the marginal dollar value of consumption is extraordinarily high in those places. And then you add to that what I'm going to call incredibly cruel climate arithmetic, and I'll try and demonstrate this empirically as we go along, is that restraining climate change, no matter how we do it, the raw algebra of it is going to, so I've lost the screen here, is going to require, there we go, is going to require very large reductions in these very same countries that are desperate for more energy and are desperate not to pay a lot for it. And so we'll get into that. So I think of the global energy challenge is perhaps a defining challenge of the century, and it's also one where these trade-offs inherent in it vary greatly across locations, and particularly when it comes to the climate component, it's going to make it very difficult to solve. And so the question that is underneath that is, can the world find a path where societies all pursuing their individual self-interest don't make it unnecessarily difficult for each other?